dogs and their moms, all kinds of things, happy times. Welcome to the dinner party tonight, Christmas Spectacular! Christmas time, the greatest time of year, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, people think of Christmas or wintertime as being a dead time. The leaves fall off the trees, they look like skeleton hands. You know, all the flowers die, the fields are fallow, okay. But you know what's happening under the surface of the earth is all the seeds are sitting in the soil like this, thinking about what amazing plants they're gonna be and pulling energy from the soil down because they don't have anything sticking up anymore. So it's a time of conserving and growing energy and really distilling yourself down to that seed that's gonna grow. So winter is really a time of the greatest life. This is how I think about the winter time. And in the winter, there's a great festival called, in the Christian world, Christmas time. But the Christians took that from a pagan ceremony. They picked a day in order to make the pagans celebrate Christmas, so that's why it's on the 25th. FYI. So I know a lot of people know that, but it's a wonderful time of year because most of the Western world has at least some days off at this time. So this is the time of year when you can say, do you want to come over for dinner? And the person's going to go, yeah, sure. You want to have a drink at 1:30 in the afternoon? Yeah, it's that time of year, right? Right, Reg?
Right.
Right. This entire concept is encapsulated in a song called Joy by Tracy Thorn. So the reason I bring up this song is because, those are my workmen coming in. It's a work day here at my house. The reason I bring up her song is for friends of mine who think, I don't want to celebrate holidays because there's too much suffering and I had a bad year and I'm depressed and lonely. And in the song she says, it's because of the dark we see the beauty in the spark. That's why the carols make you cry, because we are acknowledging that there is sorrow. But in the face of sorrow, we throw our joy just for one day. And it's an affirmation that you will try to erase sorrow in the new year. Think about it that way, and suddenly it's not so bad to have Christmas dinner. I'm going to take you through my holiday day. What we're going to do is from the prep day to Christmas breakfast to Christmas dinner, I'm going to take you through the whole thing. And you can pick and choose things that you'd like to take from my day, or you can just drink wine and watch the episode. Today is December 23rd. I'm going to take you through what is the first prep day. There's really two prep days, 23, 24. And these are the menus that we're going to be making. Christmas breakfast. And for Christmas dinner we have it's a lot. Okay, now you're making a lot of stuff, you're cooking a lot of things. That's why I say 23, 24. If it's after work, have a coffee. If you do have the day, it's obviously easier, but you can do this on two nights. I've done it. So today we're going to be making sachet away. Sachets, lavender sachets with lavender from my garden. And we're going to make sauces and ice creams for your holiday. Listen, this seems fussy and weird, but it's so cute. And I've been doing it now for several years because David planted all these lavenders and they're not super gorgeous, but they do produce lavender smelling leaves and flowers. So we've been cutting them and drying them, and then I make little sachets. Now, when they come for Christmas breakfast, which is Nicholas and David only, on their plate is the sachet for that year. Listen, is it cutesy or cute? I don't know. It's in between. It's super sweet, and people put it in their sock drawer, and it smells great. Or you put it in with your napkins or whatever you like. All right. So you can buy lavender, or you can make any scent that you'd like, and you can use cedar. You can use really any potpourri thing that you choose. Even if it's plain old herbs, you can do it. This is lavender from my house. Leaves and flowers, even though you can't really see the leaves. They're kind of pulverized. These are from Amazon. They're literally, I think they're 10 cents each, which tells you they might be made in an inhumane way, but there you go. They're 10 cents each. Take lavender. Oh, first of all, do the trick. Lavender oil. It bumps it up a little bit. It's very strong. So I'm gonna put a few drops in here, not too much. Put my glasses on. That's about 7 drops. Shake it. They said boys, what is that smell that boys like? They said boys like lavender and pumpkin or something. Remember when that came out? Like if you want a guy to stay over, that you should make your house smell like lavender or pumpkins. I forget what it is. Don't get one that has an open linen with the spaces in between. Get one that's pretty tight because otherwise the lavender will fall out. Here's your lavender. You can do this at the close of day if you want. Tie this in a double knot, unless yours are different. And you can also tie a ribbon around it. But you'll see when I show you the Christmas breakfast setup, it's so cute on the plate. Look how sweet. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. All right, we're gonna make 2 ice creams. One of them is butter pecan, and one of them is hot chocolate cherry. We did ice cream base, which is the custard base that we did on another episode. I'm just gonna go through this quickly just to, and then I'll show you the flavorings, which is the most important thing. This is not the time of year to skimp on your ice cream base. Gordon Ramsay puts 16 yolks in a pint of ice cream. I put 8 at Christmas and 4 to 6 normally. I mean, that's a lot of egg yolks. So basically, we're gonna crack an egg, the drill. Gonna open it, pass it through your hands like this. Boop, egg yolk, and 4. Now, you're making 2 ice creams. I recommend, even though the base is vanilla in both cases, don't make 2 bases in one pot and then split them. Don't do that. I'm just gonna whisk these so they're very smooth. Now I only did 4, but honestly, you shouldn't do under 8 for Christmas. This is a rich ice cream. You're gonna put 2 cups of cream. This is the same recipe as any regular custard. So you don't want this to be too low or it's gonna take forever to melt the sugar. This is 3/4 of a cup. Now, I'm using unsweetened cocoa, okay? If you use actual hot chocolate mix, which is what I had to use one year because I didn't have any cocoa, be aware that they're sweetened. So you want to reduce the amount of sugar or not add sugar. I use very, very high quality hot chocolate. Don't use Swiss Miss. It doesn't belong in an ice cream, okay? You can use Ghirardelli or something like that. I'm using Scharfenberger unsweetened cocoa. But anyway, this is 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I'm just gonna stir that and I'm gonna let it dissolve. Here's a little funny trick. Put your whisk over the handle and then you can pick up the whisk. It's not boiling hot. This is melting, it's getting nice and hot, actually perhaps a little too hot. And we're gonna add our magic vanilla bean paste, which is vanilla essence with the seeds. If you can see the little seeds in there. Add a lot, it's Christmas. These are straight up vanilla beans. These are from Williams-Sonoma. What we're making is essentially a super vanilla base, okay? And if you really want to be fancy, you also add a little Tahitian vanilla, which is the most floral vanilla, like this. Essentially, you can not do that for the chocolate, but it makes the chocolate better, all right? So here we go. Ooh, it's hot. If you can't keep your hand on the bottom, be careful with it. Okay, now we've cracked, for Christmas time, 8 to 12 eggs, yolks in here. But we have to teach the eggs, remember? It's called tempering. I'm gonna put a little teeny bit and stir. A little bit and stir. This is so they don't make scrambled eggs. And stir. They're learning a good lesson. And then you can dump them in. I just made a massive mess. Now you're gonna turn it down. The most notorious mess maker in any kitchen is cocoa powder. It doesn't matter how careful you are, Where you put it, how you handle it, it will make a freaking disastrous mess. Try to get a small container, because your fantasy is that this will assist you in not making a mess. It's a lot of chocolate, and you're gonna do it by taste because you're a dinner partier. You don't have to measure it or anything. You're making hot chocolate ice cream. Make this taste like hot chocolate. It's a lot. Oh shoot, see that? That's why cocoa powder sucks. All right, good luck doing this without making a mess. Start there. Don't despair. All of those little lumps and stuff will dissolve. Now, in my opinion, that's not chocolatey enough. Even though there are still lumps. I'm gonna put more. Trying to hurt you or something, I hate it! Ah! So it's thickening. You wanna keep this stirred. It already has a little bit more consistency. Now I'm gonna taste it to make sure it's chocolatey enough. Oh, that's so good. But don't forget, you're gonna put it into a cup of cream that wasn't involved, okay? So when I put that in here, is it still gonna be chocolatey enough? I'm liking the way this looks. It's very thick. So I'm gonna do the test. To test custard, you wanna use a rough finish spoon, not a shiny spoon. And I'm gonna go like this. Now you see how the line holds. It doesn't run down into the other line. I'll show you again. The line stays open, okay? I'm now going to strain it. Some of the eggs will have cooked slightly, and you don't want that in your ice cream. This is the perfect little strainer I've discovered. Wow, this is thick ice cream. It's called real-time cooking. Okay, here's your ice cream. You're gonna mix this together so it's a beautiful hot chocolate tone. Now I like to clean it even though nobody sees it in this state because I don't like to come and get it the next day and have it be messy, that's why. This needs to come to room temperature before you put it in the refrigerator. It's really better if you, in fact, I would demand that you rest your ice cream overnight. I don't know why, because it's not butter, so I don't know why. It makes the ice cream thicker. Now we're gonna make the butter pecans for the butter pecan ice cream. You will see shadows outside, those are my workmen. So we're gonna do this the old-fashioned way, all right? This is an ice smasher that Mike and I use for when we prepare oysters. Now, this bag is gonna break. I'm just telling you because it's before Christmas and everything is gonna go wrong. But here you go, put your pecans into the bag. And these are whole pecans. Don't buy them chopped. Just either chop them quickly in the food processor or do this. Let the hammer do the work. Feel them, flip them. Think of butter pecan ice cream. It's okay if some of them are whole. So you're gonna put them in around 2 tablespoons of butter. It doesn't have to be clarified. Does it pour out of the bag, you ask? Not really, but we'll try. Coat the pecans with butter. This is actually David Leibovitz's butter pecan. People consistently say this is their favorite ice cream. Some people call it popcorn ice cream because it kind of tastes like popcorn. Then you're gonna take a pre-cut baking sheet. Buy the pre-cut sheets, oh my God, so convenient. And you're gonna put your pecans on there. If there's loose butter, don't pour the loose butter, okay? Heat your oven to 350, spread them out in a thin layer, and now you are going to liberally salt it. That's what makes a butter pecan really special, is the salt, because that's what makes kind of the popcorn flavor. Use your good salt. Do it liberally, because a lot of it's gonna fall off. Don't take your eyes off this in the oven. I have destroyed so many trays of pecans by taking my eyes away for 3 minutes. They go from perfect to burnt in like 90 seconds. So keep your eye on them. When you put it in your mouth from the oven, it should make like a Pop Rocks sound. That's how hot they should be. Don't worry if it's still soft, it'll harden. Then you must put these in the freezer. What I do, and I'll show you, is I put a little paper towel to soak up the butter, and I put some in a bowl, and I put another piece of paper towel, I put the pecans, put another piece of paper towel, so that they're draining and freezing at the same time. I'll show you what they look like when they're frozen. So they look the same, but they're frozen solid. Oh my God, they're so good. $3.50, keep an eye on it. Butter pecan, your friends are gonna love it. It's December 24th. Your ice cream is chilled. Look how pretty it looks because we cleaned the side of the glass. And you've pre-chilled your machine. Don't turn it on and pour the ice cream in. It should be on for at least 5 to 10 minutes before you churn. And then you're going to pour your ice cream in and simply churn it for whatever your machine tells you. This ice cream for me in the big Cuisinart is about 30 minutes. And then what you're gonna do is take these beautiful Amarena, come on now. You're gonna take some Amarena cherries. They're in syrup. Now the cool thing about syrup is that it's not water. If you use real cherries, sometimes the water in the cherries will crystallize in the ice cream. The fact that these are in syrup is very helpful. When your ice cream is complete and you're decanting it, you're gonna put in some ice cream, scatter cherries. Put in ice cream, scatter cherries. Put in ice cream, scatter cherries. Do not put the cherries in the machine. Don't do that. Mix it in the container. Your container should be frozen before you decant. With your butter pecan, which you've frozen your pecans, it's the same process. Pecans on the bottom, ice cream. Pecans on the bottom, ice cream. And then you have beautiful distribution. If you put it in here, it's gonna overflow. Trust me, it's going to overflow. And also, it's not as good. Then you can, if it's loose enough, you can even mix it quickly. Clean the sides, top on, freezer. And it has 1 day to set up because it's the 24th. These are superb ice creams. Your friends are gonna plots. So now I'm just gonna put the ice cream in the mixer and mix it for about 30 minutes. Churning is complete. You've put your ice creams into the pre-frozen containers. Don't use warm containers. The most critical moment of your ice cream is the transition from the churner to the freezer. Very quick, otherwise ice crystals will form. So we're just gonna throw these in the freezer. Who knows the words to that? Nobody. It's Christmas Day. Your ice creams are ready. Why not give them a little tasty poo? Here is your butter pecan ice cream. Oh, woo! I normally wouldn't disturb the surface of it because it's for Christmas dinner, but I am gonna give it a little taste and the consistency, which is perfection. That's no joke. This is the cherry hot chocolate. I'm gonna take a cherry. Oh, they set up beautifully, guys. Wow. Zahar. We're working with Zahar today. Hightow is busy. What do you think about that? It's a little too cold. It should be slightly softer, but the flavor is very good, right? Ice creams, done. Now, you are going to serve oysters for your holiday cocktail hour. Oysters are, I mean, I love oysters. You can serve them simply with a squeeze of lemon. They're fabulous. But if you'd like to make them a little fancier, you can serve them with a traditional sauce called mignonette. Now, mignon has a meaning. Mignonette means a smaller version. But basically, it's a kind of pepper, sort of a kind of pepper blend, all right? But it's also a lot of other things. It's really good if you make this at least 1 or up to 2 days in advance. Slice the shallot this way and then make little hairs, like it has long hair. And then you're just gonna go like this. Fill a ramekin with finely chopped shallots. Now this might seem like a strange sauce, but it's actually the traditional sauce. Now, variations. You can make this with little pieces of chopped apple. Without the skin, it's beautiful. Then you're gonna put your mignonette pepper, which is basically just white pepper, black pepper, cumin, I think, and allspice or something. I don't know what it is. Put a little bit in there. Then what you're going to do is fill this with red wine vinegar until it's floating like that. Oh, it's Regina. What happens overnight is that the peppercorns and the shallots swell with the vinegar, and it becomes this very lovely and beautiful sort of piquant sauce that goes with on top of the oysters. You'll see, I mean, it gets really thick, and you just put a little bloop on top of your oyster, and it makes the back of your mouth water. It's so yummy. So you can serve mignonette at room temperature or straight out of the fridge, but it does have to soak overnight, at least. And it will keep really for 5 days, maybe even 7 days. So mignonette, traditional and easy, just like me. So you guys know we're making a smoked goose from Schultz Farms. Smoked goose is your success buyer. There's nothing you can do to it that's gonna mess it up. It's pre-cooked, essentially. It's gorgeous. But there is a way that you can enhance it. And that's with a beautiful sauce that is worthy of the goose's life, that the goose gave for you to have it on Christmas night, okay? Dig it, it's true. So we're gonna make a beautiful, beautiful sauce that goes with smoked goose. What could that be? Well, fruit. Sort of a piquant fruit sauce goes beautifully with duck and with goose and with any sort of really gamey taste, that lovely piquant flavor. So we're gonna make a cherry sauce. Sounds traditional, but it's lovely. We're gonna make essentially a gastrique, but it's a little bit different. We're gonna start with a hot pan, olive oil. That's right. This pan is very hot, a little bit of olive oil. Shallots, okay? You're gonna sweat off some shallots. You don't wanna mess around with the low heat. You wanna sweat these off and get it going. Now, any cherries that you buy now are out of season. It's December. You really shouldn't use fresh cherries because they're probably from one of the countries to which we sell illegal insecticides. I use organic cherries, frozen, and are from the United States. How much liquid does it have? Always check. Does it have a lot of liquid? No. They're still kind of frozen, which is gonna mess this up slightly, but here we go. Second bag. Reggie will eat this on bread, right, Reggie? Reggie loves this. Stir it up, and then we're gonna put what will appear to be an unconscionable amount of sugar in it. Now, you should have on hand, because it's the holidays, a bottle of condensed cherry juice. You will use it for everything. It is expensive. It's like $30 a bottle. I happen to not have one right now, which is hilarious, but I do have cherry juice. The condensed juice is convenient because it's already thick. This is just regular cherry juice, but it is sour cherry, which is good. I'm gonna add the sugar. You can add up to 3 cups because you're gonna add a ton of vinegar. All right, need some liquid. Here we go. Little sour cherry juice. And the most important ingredient of all, vinegar. I'm gonna use this Regina. Now you're gonna reduce the crap out of this thing. So it's okay if it's loose right now. And now I'm gonna taste it and see where we're at. Ooh, it's very tart. Believe it or not, it needs more sugar, which seems crazy. You just get the syrup, it's already made. The ingredients are cane sugar. Put a little sugar in. So what you're making is a piquant sauce. What do I want to taste with goose, smoked goose? Oh, you want something not too sweet, not too sour, right? A little bit of salt, un peu de poivre. First of all, the first time you make it, you're probably gonna over-reduce it because it's really, really hard to know when it's over-reduced. Basically, when you draw your big spoon through the sauce, for 1 second you see the pan and then it closes back over it. Because always remember, which we've told you before on DPT, the consistency when cold is radically different than the consistency when hot. So if you over-reduce it, big deal. Put it back in with a little water and vinegar and just loosen it up. If you take your eye off it, it'll go from perfect to over-reduced in the space of a blink, an eye blink. But watching it is like watching paint dry until that crucial minute. So it's kind of like, just don't leave the room, basically. So I make this in advance for a couple of reasons. Number one, it takes time off your big prep day. And number two, it gets a little better. You know, it's like when you sit with something and think about it overnight, it's usually better the next day. Same thing with food. You can also add frozen blackberries if you'd like, or fresh if you're making this in the summer. And any kind of dark fruit is really yummy. I'm gonna put a little squirt of lemon in. This will be absolutely perfection in about 20 minutes. All right, so guys, here's the moment. When I draw my spoon through, for a moment, you see the bottom of the pan. That's what you're looking for. So this has to come off the heat. You wait till this cools. It's absolutely nuclear. Do not touch it, okay? Until it's room temperature, and then spoon it into a deli and put it in the fridge. This will keep 2 weeks. Take it out of the refrigerator at least 2 to 3 hours before you want to serve it. You can heat it or not. I serve it room temperature. Cherry sauce for the goose. Some other things you might be thinking about on the 23rd. Your house presentation, scent, music. I usually like to set up the music list the couple days before, so I'm not like on the computer the day when people are just walking in. I usually start with holiday music. You can pick somebody that you really like who made a holiday record, or you can use traditional holiday music. Instrumental is fine. Then you move into like a peppier person doing holiday music, and then just that person. Like you might start with traditional music for cocktails, moving into Sharon Jones, for instance, has a great Christmas record. And then you might play Tracy Thorn's record, which is called Tinsel and Lights, which is a great Christmas record. Or anybody, you know, person that you think is a great singer, I guarantee you they have a Christmas record. Dolly Parton's is absolutely fabulous. And then when that's over, you can just play your regular dinner music, whatever that may be for you. The other thing you have to think about is smell. So people eat with their eyes first. They see your house with their nose. Their experience begins when they walk through the door. And in a home, that first experience is the smell of your house. So in the holidays, you want your house to be beautifully scented, always keeping in mind that you're serving food. I like this kind of incense, Norden. This is my least favorite one, which is Oh Hi. They have another one called Idlewild that is absolutely stunning. It just looks like regular incense, but it don't smell like regular incense. Another brand that is easier to find is Incense of the West. This stuff is really good. Do not burn regular incense. It reeks. Do not burn regular incense. And also it interferes with the food. This smells sort of like a scented fire. Faint, okay? Same thing with Oh Hi, but Idlewild is better. You don't want vanilla, patchouli, or cinnamon in your home. You don't want that. If you want to go traditional, I know we talk about candles being wildly expensive, and they are. There's some really good natural scented candles now. You have to kind of look for them, but there's some really good ones actually. But if you want to go super traditional, I'm going to key you into something from my deep childhood. It's called a Rigaud. The candle is a Rigaud, R-I-G-A-U-D. When I was a child, this was the only scented candle I ever saw, all right? It has a very, very, very particular, beautiful smell for the entire winter season. It's not really pine, but it's not that far away from pine. It is $90. It's expensive, but if you want to smell one, just go to the good, really good drugstores will have them, like Fancy Pants drugstores, or a good scent shop will have them. Think of your home as a play. You're inviting your audience, your guests, to a play. You don't want there to be a hole in the play. You want the play to be a cohesive unit. So they should never be let out of the enchantment of your dinner. So one more tip. Look, Christmas dinner is a big, massive cleanup. If you know any kid who has Christmas lunch instead of Christmas dinner or something and needs $150, call them, because you will be very grateful that they're there. This is not a dinner that you can clean up as you go. It's a lot. Look around. You can even put up a sign and say, would you like to wash dishes on Christmas night for $150 cash? Love, person, okay? I mean, it'll work. That about wraps it up for the 23rd of December. Stay with us because we're going to take you right through to the last carol. Good morning. It is Christmas Eve. Oh, it's such a nice sound, right? So, what do you need to get done today? You need to get your desserts and your appetizers. Those are my workmen you're hearing. Remember to churn your ice cream. I've forgotten several times. So, Christmas Eve, here we go. What's Leonard doing? He's so sweet. Let me give him a hug. I just love him so much. He's also a Christmas nut. Right, Leonard? I know. Let's make a spice bundt. Now, in another episode, I told you that bundts were really just a cake in a fancy pan. You know what? That's not right. A bundt cake is like a pound cake in a fancy pan. It's a different kind of cake. It's a little bit of a denser recipe. So we're gonna make this cake, which I made last year, and then I threw it on the Christmas table. And frankly, it was a huge hit. Now, King Arthur flour, the absolutely irreplaceably genius King Arthur flour, has the recipe. It's called gingerbread spice bundt. And I use a Nordic ware pan, and I use this one for the spice cake because I think it has a spicy attitude. It looks like something that the Three Kings would bring, doesn't it? So that's why I use it for the spice cake. It's the gift of the Randi. The first thing you're gonna do is 3/4 of a cup or 170 grams of butter. You're going to use your brown sugar, which you've put in your King Arthur flour brown sugar keeper, so it's not as a brick. Mix those two things together until they are mixed. Most people don't mix their cake batter enough. Until you put the flour in, it should really be incorporated. Most people think it's mixed there because they don't see lumps of anything, you know? You want to kind of keep it scraped down. Incorporate, incorporate. That's what you gotta do with the cake. Now we went to buy eggs because I used all the eggs and they weren't room temperature. And as dinner partiers, you know that you must use room temperature eggs. So we put them in warm water. It's like a little trick. Now we're gonna add 2 eggs, fully incorporating after each one. Now this cake is big enough and dense enough that if you wanted to put a gold coin in it, which is a Christmas tradition, you could. The person who gets the slice with the gold coin has luck for the year, etc. Make sure you put the coin in the dishwasher for a cycle before you put it in the cake. So fully incorporate means you don't want to see trails of egg. It's fully emulsified. I just made this cake recently and Reggie said it was the best one I'd made. Fully incorporate. Until you put the flour in, you can beat the crap out of it, and you should. This is the flour with the spices. It has nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, which I ran out of, so this one doesn't have cinnamon. Be very careful with ground cloves. It's very strong, okay? And can overpower your cake. Just put in whatever they say. I think it's a half a teaspoon or something. I don't put in the leaveners until right before I cook the cake because they react with the air. It's a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, which I keep in a sealed jar. The one that's in your refrigerator is not gonna work. Because the open thing, you can put tape over it also, but it reacts with the air, it becomes oxidized and it doesn't work, which is why your cakes aren't rising, by the way, they're not rising. Should be in a container like this, and after 8 months or 6 to 8 months, you throw it away and you get a new one. 1/4 teaspoon, seems like very little, but it works, you know. Oh, 1 full teaspoon of baking powder, salt. And we have some molasses, which I'm gonna put in, which is a big mess maker, almost as bad as the cocoa. Normally, I do this trick where I pour the thing and I imagine it filling it so I don't mess this up. But with molasses, I'm not gonna do that because molasses can be a tiny bit bitter. This is the perfect amount. It's half a cup. Oh, molasses, molasses. Oh, that's going to make a beautiful, dark, lovely color on your cake. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to check this to see how incorporated it is. It's a little loose right now, don't worry. This is really easy cake. You can do this while you're watching Below Deck or South Park or 90 Day Fiancé. Now we're going to add the flour and the spices alternating with water. They want you to begin and end with flour. I mean, there's a reason why it's in that order. If you mess it up, it's okay. Now I'm putting the flour in, so now we can't beat the crap out of it because it will open the gluten strand, so we can't do that. Put in around a third of this. Incorporate it a little bit of water. Not too much mixing. A third again. This is all the water now, but not all at once. Don't worry about that slight strange texture. It'll go away in about 3 seconds. Now just incorporate this. It says mix until just incorporated in so many recipes. That's because they don't want you to wreck that strand, the gluten strand. Okay, now I'm gonna scrape this off and we're ready to put it in the bundt. This is sprayed with Baker's Joy. You shouldn't be as scared of bunts as everybody is. If you use these pans, these Nordic ware pans, it'll pop right out. But just make sure that you got it even, because wherever you didn't get it, it's gonna stick. You're gonna do it the way that they coronate the queen. East, south, north, west. I think that's the order. So you're gonna do spoonful here. Try not to hit the sides when you put it in. Spoonful here. Here. Even amount. It will flatten in the oven to a certain extent. Same thing again. Then look at it, and see where it seems uneven. I think it needs a little more right there. And you're just gonna gently press it into the shape. You don't have to go too berserk with this. Sort of gently coax it into the shape of your bundt pan. If you see there's a high amount somewhere and a low amount, you can do it here. I have a little bit of batter that rose up, so I'm taking a little bit of spray and I'm going to just wipe away those pieces of batter. So this is gonna go into a 350 oven for about 50 minutes. And then you're gonna see how easily it comes out, or not. Maybe it's gonna be a disaster. But if it's a disaster, it's okay because you have other desserts. You don't have to serve it. Here we go. Bundt. It's funt. The bundt cake benefits from a glaze. The glaze is super simple. Don't be scared of the word glaze. Basically, it's a third of a cup of liquid, which can be rum or water and rum, which is what I did. So you want to put the water in here. Then you're going to put this insane amount of sugar, which is 3/4 of a cup, and you're going to think it's just crazy, but that's got 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, kind of the spices that were in your cake. And then you're just going to stir this until it's almost dissolved. But you want to leave a little bit of sugar crystals because it makes a crunchy topping, sort of a crunchy top, which Reggie likes. I'm listening to see if there's crunchies on the bottom, and I'm going to stop before it's fully dissolved. And then you want to, when you take your cake out of the pan, you want to paint this with a silicone brush on the cake before the cake cools. Because when it cools, the sort of like the pores of the cake will close. I know my cake is done because I put a skewer in it and the skewer came out clean. You don't have to do that. You can do it by eye. Here's my bundt. Bunty-poo. Very gently push the sides, okay? You should see quite a lot of movement. And then just very gently around here, the same thing. Now I'm gonna flip this. Don't worry about the bump. I'm gonna flip it like this. It may come out right away. It may not. Kind of tap it with a knife. And then you're going to tilt it up and take a look. Is it coming out? Make sure it's coming out on all sides. Taking the pan off is like kind of an ordeal. This is what I did before, and it works. Come on! Look at the interior of this. I mean, that's a really good pan. The Bundt looks completely fabulous. While it's hot, you have your glaze with a little bit of crunchiness in it, and you have your cake is over a parchment paper. Do not do this on your counter. Silicone, please do not use the bristle one. And we're gonna paint this. You wanna be gentle because it's tender little cake right now, but you also wanna make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies. I go like this, make sure you paint a little bit in here. And I'm telling you, this is just a really beautiful pan. If you prepare your pan correctly, your Bundt will come out exactly like this. And you should use all your glaze. Now, about halfway through, you're gonna get bored. Use all the glaze. Gently, 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 then I'm gonna go underneath just a little bit like this. Most of this will drop off, but you wanna make sure you get the whole cake. Then I'm gonna go around again, and just until your glaze is done. So there you go. Perfect Bundt cake. Let it come to room temperature. Then you're gonna very gently pick it up and put it on your presentation plate. And you can store this under a cake dome or tinfoil or gently laid cloth on it overnight. Spice cake. Give them what they want, what they really, really want. I serve a few cakes for Christmas dinner, cookies and candies and fruit gelees and all this stuff. But the cakes are usually an almond cake, which is very Christmassy, a chocolate cake perhaps, a spice cake, and of course a Christmas cake. Now we've made a Christmas cake on the show. You can refer back to Christmas cakes, which we made following Fanny Craddock's recipe, which includes glacé cherries. If you haven't made your cake, please make your cake, even if it's 3 days before Christmas, because it'll still be good, okay? So Christmas cakes, almond cakes, chocolate cakes, spice cakes, all kinds of cakes are great cakes to make on Christmas bake day. Cannelé, cannelé, what a way to start your day. Cannelé, cannelé, we're gonna make some cannelé today. We're gonna make cannelés. Now, they're very simple, but they're very flashy. Last year I made madeleines, and they didn't comment on the madeleines. Let's see if they comment on the cannelés. Cannelé recipe, I went through a lot of YouTube and stuff and internet to find a good recipe, had some failures. Then I found Bruno Albouze, who has a great cooking channel, and his recipe is flawless. And it's very simple to make, but the most important factor is you must rest your cannelé batter for at least 12 hours. You cannot make this in the same day unless you do it at 10 and 10 p.m. It sets up and it turns into a different kind of custard, and you have to do that. The other thing I'll say is be brave. They have to stay in the oven until they're almost black, okay? Trust me. The first thing you're gonna do is you put 2 cups of milk in a pan. You put 2 cups of milk in there and 2 tablespoons of butter, and you're gonna melt this on the stove. Don't take your eye off it too much because it will boil over because it's milk. So I'm just gonna put this on the stove. Then we're gonna separate 4 egg yolks. 1, room temperature, please. 4 egg yolks. Incorporate these. My butter and milk is melted. I'm just gonna teach these eggs. The cook word for it is temper the eggs. So I'm gonna put a little bit of this in, and you stir it, stir it, stir it, stir it, stir it, stir it, stir it. Little bit, stir it, stir it, stir it, stir it, and then you can dump it in. You're gonna cook this until it's 180 degrees. I mean, who does that? But basically you want it to get pretty thick. And then you're gonna dump in your dry ingredients and leave it overnight. If you've never made a custard, you should use a thermometer the first time. This is already thickening. What do you think the temperature is? There's steam coming off of it. 160, it's almost there. The inside of a cannelé, when you cut it, it should be almost like It's hard to explain what it should be like. It's almost like a cakey mousse thing. It's like a cruller because you're making a custard. You have the possibility of making scrambled eggs, right? So you want to keep this moving. Personally, I know this is ready because I've made like 2,000 custards. But if you don't, use the thermometer. I'm just going to turn this off. I'm going to get my dry ingredients, which is basically sugar and flour and salt. Oh, you know what's delicious in this is a little bit of this. This is vanilla bean paste. So you want to mix some of that in before you put in your dry. Then I'm just going to put this in and mix it. Big messes today, guys. This is horrendous mess. You want to mix it until it looks like pancake batter. Looks good to me, smells divine. They tell you to strain it after it cools. I strain it both times. You might have a little bit of scrambled egg, you know. And then this goes in the fridge for 12 hours minimum. See that? Scrambled egg. Let it come to room temperature before you put it in the fridge. Tomorrow, it will be thick. Strain it again. It will have a slight skin on the top. Strain it. And then you make your cannelés, which we will do tomorrow. We're going to make salmon roulette. Traditionally, you actually blitz a little bit of the salmon. We're not going to do that. Ours is more country style. It's actually more like a rough pate, sort of. And we're making a couple of these delicious, unctuous, beautiful, luxurious appetizers for Christmas dinner. This is better if you rest it overnight. It just sets. In England, they have something called potted this, that, or the other thing. Potted shrimp, potted salmon. That's basically a pressed down roulette, okay? Spreadable meat thing. We could make this potted, but we're not gonna do that. So take your smoked salmon. This is a lot. It's Christmas. And we're gonna cut this, okay? Now, what you can do is take like this much of it and put it in the food processor. That will become sort of a binder for the roulette, or rillette. We're not gonna do that today. I mean, I've done it, it's good. It makes it a little more pasty. Line this up, cut it into thin strips. Sharp knife really helps. Cut this small. Make sure you're cutting it and you're not just smushing it. As we all know, well, you may not know what day we're filming because of course it's December 24th. We don't know who the winner of Great British Baking Show is. I'm Team David. Who are you?
I think I want Steph to win.
Steph was gonna win, yeah. I think, but I think I want David to win. I want David to come from behind, said the actress to the bishop. I don't think he will though. So we'll see, I guess we'll know by the time this is done. Don't you kind of grew to love Noel so much, right? Like you thought you were gonna hate him and then he was so fabulous. You can do this, you don't even need to watch me, okay? You don't even need to watch the episode. Make a spreadable paste with salmon. What would you do? How do I make this spreadable on crostini? First of all, I'm gonna put some chives in it. Line them up. Add your chives. Look how pretty it is already. It needs some onion, so I'm putting some chopped shallots in. A few capers. That's already like something you would eat, correct? But how do I make it into a paste? Well, this is something you do when they're not there. You use mayonnaise and creme fraiche, okay? I'm using sour cream, which is essentially creme fraiche. Creme fraiche is basically sour cream and a little bit of mayonnaise. Don't go overboard with the mayonnaise. And I'm gonna use the juice of a lemon, but sparingly, because I don't know how thick it's gonna be. Gonna mix this up. Oh, we need a lot more paste, right? And a little more of this. Oh, it made a little farting noise. I'm now gonna add cracked pepper. I mean, it's festive. I think it's festive looking. Never have a smooth top. Always sort of ruck up the top a little bit. So always clean this. Always don't ever serve something in a dirty thing. It's just a sign of a cook who doesn't care. You can press this, like I said, but you can cover this. It should rest overnight. It'll kind of set up in a weird way. The flavors will mingle and be gorgeous. If you keep this tightly wrapped, I don't know, 5 days, Reggie? 3 days?
3.
Yeah. So I'm making this on the 24th, and to be served tomorrow for the cocktail hour before the dinner. I wouldn't serve this directly out of the refrigerator. Let it come to just colder than room temperature is ideal. I mean, that just looks like Christmas night deliciousness to me. I don't know. Color me crazy. I would like a moment of silence for my old food processor. This is the only remaining part. He served me well. He served me long. Goodbye. And let's welcome Marcine, my new food processor. We're gonna make an amazing thing called sausage spread. This is could be part of an incredible thing I saw in Food and Wine called apéro dînatoire, which is a French thing for dinner and cocktails where it's only grazing. There's no main course. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. But this is part of our Christmas cocktail hour. But why not try an apéro dînatoire in the holiday season? I know I'm gonna do it. You're gonna get a saucisson sec, or a dry sausage. This one was wrapped in plastic, even though they tried to fool me that it was wrapped in paper. And remove the casing, if there is one. No casing. And you're just gonna chop this in processable sizes. So what I would do is cut it in half, cut that in half, and then cut pieces like that. Place the sausage in your food processor. And you're gonna pulse it a few times. Oh, Marcine is fierce. Okay, beautiful. You're gonna put a little bit of thyme in here. Try not to get the sticks. It's the sign of a lazy cook. So there's your thyme. And then you're gonna put in 2 tablespoons of butter. Trust me, you will not regret it. And then I'm going to pulse this. And I'm gonna put a little bit of pepper and a teeny bit of salt. Remember, salami has salt. It's an appetizer, so it should be pretty flavorful. Now you could put hot pepper flakes in here if you wanted. Now you're just gonna emulsify it, drizzle a little olive oil into it while it's running. Not a lot. You wanna look at it. When it really gets bindy, it's ready. This is pretty close to bindy. Take a look. Does it look like paste? Yes, a little bit more olive oil. So feel free to add whatever you want. Paprika, dried herbs. I might actually add a little dried herbs. Even green peppercorns, actually, that's a really good idea. Just a few, because they're quite pungent. They're like capers, but different. I would put some shallots in there too, just to finish it up. I'm gonna pulse that. Put this in your container. You can press this down and make it potted, or you can leave it just like this, like a rustic spread. Press it with the back of the spoon like this, and cover it with the plastic wrap touching it, and then before you serve it, ruck up the top a little bit. Never serve it with a flat top, that's nasty. And then I would serve it with these crostini things. You can make your own, just like this, with a pretty knife in it. You know, it's just like a very beautiful appetizer, actually. I would chill it for 30 minutes if you really have to serve it right away. If you don't have to serve it right away, overnight would be great. Saucisson sec spread for your apéro dînatoire or your Christmas dinner cocktail hour. So one of the appetizers we're gonna make for our appetizer spread, which is always too many appetizers, but that's okay, because it's Christmas. We're gonna make curry shrimp cocktail. What that means is we're gonna boil some shrimp for two minutes, which anybody can do. And then you're gonna concoct a little curry dipping sauce. Now, you can also serve this On sliced avocados, drizzle the curry like this and put the shrimp on top and make it a plated appetizer. But we're serving it as a dipping sauce. So plain yogurt. And don't use Greek yogurt only because it's too thick. That's the base of your sauce right there. Frankly, plain yogurt is actually a pretty good dipping sauce, but we're gonna make this special. So I'm using vin du vin, which I think we've spoken about before, which is a French colonial style curry powder, meaning it has a little bit more in it than a normal like garam masala or curry powder that you would buy. Smell it. Ooh, think about this. How much is in here? What does this smell like? You want it to change color, right? So let's put some in. We're gonna taste it in a second. Want to put a little tiny touch of vinegar to loosen it slightly. Now, it's not a very nice color, so I'm gonna put some more curry in it. This was a big hit. I made this with lobster. So it's like a little spicy uplift, very sort of holiday in a way. Salt. More salt. Oh, it's delicious, by the way. A little more pepper. And this can keep in the fridge for days. So if you want to make this on the 21st or something, you can. Sort of do an emulsification of this with a little bit of olive oil. Just a little bit. Let me taste it for consistency. Delicious. So let's pretend we're serving it right now, and it's not the day before. Always clean this bowl. Never bring something to the table like that. It's nasty. Sauce. Shrimp. These have been boiled for, 2 minutes maybe. This is just pepper that you see. A little bit of star anise that was floating in the water. I'm gonna give these a little hit of pepper. This is spicy a little bit. And that's how you would serve that. Maybe with a tiny squeeze of lemon. This is for tomorrow, so we assembled it just, to show you, but really you can store this in its little container, right? And cover this, store it in the fridge. And you'll be smiling tomorrow. So one of the great things you can do on the 24th is you can make a potato dish that you can put in the refrigerator overnight, which is rare. But the question is, how do you make Duchess potatoes more special? Well, you pipe them, number one. Number two, you add a little cheese, okay? So basically we have riced Idaho potatoes, which I boiled. You can refer to our recipe for Duchess potatoes. They're fabulous. So here, this is 4 egg yolks. You're gonna pour that in. Then you're going to put 1 1/4 cups of cream. You're gonna stir this around. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of pre-ground, don't tell anybody, Parmesan cheese, okay? About 2 handfuls. Stir that in. We're gonna put a little bit of sour cream. I love Duchess potatoes, they're so retro. I love them, I do. So you're also cooling them so you can pipe them. Little bit of pepper, because I don't want a lot of flecks. Little bit of salt. I'm gonna taste it because I don't want it to be too salty because of the cheese. Oh, need salt. Okay? Oh, the cheese is a great addition. Now we're gonna put some melted butter in. Seems crazy, but here we go. I don't want it to get too thin, guys. So I'm gonna try that amount. But the butter is what makes it possible to leave it in the fridge overnight. It stops the starch molecule from messing up. Oh, so very splashy on the floor. Duchess potatoes, that's what they're for. A little more cheese? Why not? It's Christmas. This is dry time. Just a little bit. It's gonna change the appearance a little bit, but it's okay. Take any big sticks that you see out. This is gonna brown so beautifully. I'm gonna pipe this now. Take your piping bag. This is a disposable one. Turn the nozzle. Place it flat in the bottom of this thing. And then curl the top over a deli. I mean, it's so obvious and so not thought of by me. You're still gonna make a mess, but you're gonna make less of a mess. Potatoes in. Leave yourself room to squeeze. Push this down into piping position. Keep your nozzle up. Twist this around your finger like this. Don't squeeze here too hard. Here we go. Now, the nozzle I'm using is too small, so I'm gonna fill in the gaps in a minute, and I'm pressing extremely hard. It's not the right nozzle, but that's what happens, you know, in holidays. But they're gonna love this no matter what it looks like because it's very delicious. Okay, now I'm gonna fill in the holes. What you don't know is that in those magical cuts about it being so beautiful, I got furious with myself because as I was piping in this super attractive piping bag, the cheese cooled. So I'm warning you, be careful about this, okay? The cheese cooled in the mixture and jammed the piping thing, and I got very upset. Then we just changed piping bags and refilled it, and look, it looks so cute and pretty. I think it's much chicer than just the country style that we did before. It's sort of more eleganza. Now this is pretty much room temperature, as the cheese informed me. If you want to be really fancy, you can wet your finger and gently push down the very high peaks because they'll scorch before the other pieces. But this can be covered when it's perfectly room temperature with a piece of saran wrap, slid into the fridge, and literally pulled out the next day and cooked. Or you could cook it the same day if it's not Christmas, tomorrow. And you heat it up for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, just to heat it through. And then if you want, you can blast it with a little broiler on the top, put a little more cheese on it and blast it. Or you can just serve it lightly browned. It is unbeatable. It's getting towards the end of the 24th. You've been working sort of on and off during the day. If you don't have the day off, it's a long night. And I've had it where I was working in the day and then I wanted to do prep. You know, it's a push to the holiday. So anyway, you're almost done. What you're going to do now is make tomorrow easier for yourself. And you're going to do your mise en place up to the point that you can. But you're going to make sure your goose is defrosted if it came frozen. Mine came not frozen, but you might want to take the plastic wrapper off of it and sort of dab it with a paper towel and let it kind of dry out in the fridge. You've checked your fillet, you've taken a look at it. Make sure that it's tied correctly. Of course mine is because it's from Hudson and Charles. And then you're going to prep some veg. What you're going to do is you're serving root vegetables. So you're going to take your carrots and you're going to wash them, clean them, scrub them. Don't take the skin because the flavor's in the skin. And you're just going to sort of turn the top. Take the black off. If you can do it and leave the green, it's even better. And then they look super rustic. Don't cut this because it'll make it dry out quicker. So all of your carrots are ready. You're going to rinse them with water. And then you can drop an ice cube in there, and then you just go like this with a wet cloth, and you store those in the fridge overnight. Same thing with your beautiful baby turnips, which we're going to use. Look at those. Don't cut the nose because it keeps it fresh, and you just clean around the base of the leaves. Same thing. Drop an ice cube and put a cap on it like that. Have a sip of wine. You had a long day. Then you're going to prep your pearl onions. It should be around the last thing you do. You do this very simply. You boil them for a few minutes, and then you just pop them out of the skins. Now, I will tell you, Fresh Direct sells them pre-peeled. Saves you some time. But you can do this watching TV. It's nothing. So this is how you peel these. It is labor intensive. If you can find them pre-peeled, I would do it. Cut off the little nose. Try and squeeze it out. If it doesn't work, cut off the bottom, and then you can always squeeze it out. Cut. Pop it out into your hand. Cut the little tail off if you need to. Those should be peeled and ready in a deli for tomorrow. And at some point during the day, you cleaned your mushrooms that go around your fillet. These are stunning chanterelles called girolles in England for our English viewers. These are simply cleaned with a cloth. You never, ever wash mushrooms under the tap or in water. Why? Because they're a sponge. Even if they have dirt, it's laborious. You have to take a cloth and wipe the mushroom top. Cut away any rotten parts. And tonight what I did was I just barely cut the stem. It's going to brown, but I cut their cut stem off. So it's not as brown as theirs was, right? And then I went through them and just wiped them, okay? Literally. They're clean. They're cultivated, so they're clean. And then you cover these with a dry cloth like this. If it's cold enough outside, but not freezing, you can leave these outside under your grill top Animals will eat them, so you can't just leave them outside. Or put them in your fridge. Make sure your fridge isn't super cold because they freeze easy. You can cut some shallots if you want. It'll save you a little bit of time. You will end up cutting more shallots tomorrow, but why not cut up 2 or 3 shallots? Some fine, some big, because you'll use them, you'll throw them in things tomorrow when you're actually firing your food. But basically that's it. You're gonna pop your white pearl onions, you're gonna clean and slightly trim your chanterelles or your mushrooms, whatever you're using. You're gonna clean and turn, to use a chef's word, your turnips, clean and turn your carrots. You're gonna check your goose, uncover it, and check your filet. Just take a look at it. You don't wanna unwrap it when it's time to cook it. You wanna take a look at it, okay? And then you can have give me that wine, Reggie. Thank you. Then you can have a glass of wine. Invite somebody over. You made it through the 24th. Now it's time to relax with your dog. You can hear the clicking of the claws of the dog as he walks around the house. You can hear the clicking of the claws. Who is it? It's the dog. It's the evening of the 24th. I highly recommend that you set your table tonight. I know you did a huge prep day, so did I. Set the table, because it is not something you want to do tomorrow. And there's not enough dust in your house, unless you live in the Sahara Desert, for it to be covered in dust in one night, okay? So you want to set your table the evening of the 24th. You can sometimes get away with doing it on the 23rd, but the 24th is good. Set your table. I set my table with the help of Sueli Rocha. We usually set the table after the prep. Now this year, we're going for these catchwords. I usually do a little card with the catchwords for the design. Sparkling, glittering, shimmering, shining, magnificent, luxurious, luminescent, brilliant, opulent, bright, and glorious. Don't try and get all these things in one fell swoop. It doesn't work like that, okay? So what you're gonna do is I usually buy one new thing of significance a year, okay? Meaning financial significance, decoration. And then you acquire things throughout your entire life. Oh, there's a little thing. Oh, there's a little, these little Christmas trees that I saw. Oh, here are these white paper flowers, you know? Things like that. These give a little bit of a looseness to the design. These are Christmas ornaments with the hooks clipped that I use basically as flowers. And I put them on top of these brass things. Lynn gives me these incredible paperweights that have real flowers inside the Pyrex. They're so beautiful. From a company called Hafford Grange in England. These are not acquired at the same time. So if you have 3 things that go with your color idea, use those. Don't go out and try and buy every single thing for your table on the 22nd. It's not gonna work. Never have your flower decoration higher than somebody's hands like this, so people aren't going like this, you know? You can do your own floral. We did it in arranging roses and arranging inexpensive flowers 5,000 years ago when we first started. You can easily do this yourself. These are from Angelica Flowers. They're absolutely stunning. White roses with ivy, very simple arrangement because everything is so divine. And you want to keep it like super simple. Don't go nuts with all these different colors, okay? Keep it in your color scheme. Oh my God, I wanted this thing which is called a surtout, which means on top of everything. So I'm on First Dibs and all this stuff looking at surtouts that are like $55,000, okay? Like I can't buy that. We're looking more in like the $50 range, right? So Lynn found this beautiful 3-piece mirror table runner, which of course doubles your decoration, right? On Amazon, $34. I think it's fabulous, even if your color scheme is red and green. If you're putting stuff on the mirror, come on now. When you set your table, this is set for 4, which is a small Christmas, a beautiful Christmas. 2 is beautiful. And you know what? Even 1 is beautiful. If you have 10 or something like that, or 4 or whatever, make an extra table setting, full place setting, and set it somewhere where you can grab it. If somebody brings a guest without asking, it's not a good day to go, what the hell are you doing, man? You say, of course you can come. Of course, please come in, absolutely. You just go like this, bink. Christmas crackers. I grew up in England for a little bit of my childhood, and Christmas crackers are an English thing. They're fabulous. You can get them at Robin Reed is a company that makes them, but you can get them on Amazon. You can get them, if you search, you can get the really good ones are from Fortnum & Mason. They're quite expensive, but they have good prizes. When you pull it inside, they have a little red hat or a gold hat, and a joke and a prize. The more money you spend, the more the prize is. Usually it's a little magic trick or something. But the joke is the killer, because at the end of Christmas dinner, which is when you pull them, sort of during dessert, telling the jokes is like a big part of Christmas dinner. Everybody tells the joke. Now, we learned a new joke today. What did the clock do when it was hungry? It went back 4 seconds. Pick ones that go with your design. These are mini crackers. We discovered earlier they do not contain a hat, which is unfortunate. These, I'm just going to warn you, are deadly with the glitter. Be careful of glitter. Glitter comes off and lasts in your house for about 4.5 years. But these do have a hat and a joke inside. What I usually do is set the table. What is it, love? With a couple of these, you know, on the napkin or something. You know, like I'll do it like that. Set the crackers to the side or pull them immediately or whatever their style is. I love Christmas crackers. I know in Canada they use Christmas crackers. And we have a lot of fans in Canada, which is fabulous. And so anyway, I put these on. So the table looks super festive. It's almost like everybody has a present, you know, which is great. And some people will try to crack them at the beginning, and you're not supposed to do that. And incidentally, you crack them with the person to your left. So your cracker you pick up, and you turn to the person on your left, not the person on your right. It's not a manners thing, it's a luck thing, all right? And usually the prize goes flying. And the other thing we do is everybody gets a little tooter, like a little boop, boop, what's it called, a whistle. And then you have this piece of paper that has like 1, 6, 6, 5, 6, 7, 7, you know, and you have to point at the people with the whistle that has the number on it, and you make them play carols. It's hilarious. And I buy garland from 50 Flowers, which is a great company. It's like a wedding company, but they have amazing garland. And wreaths you can get at your deli, your florist, or you can make them. It's actually not that hard to make them. Don't go nuts, don't go broke. That's not fun. And if you don't want to do the exterior stuff, don't do it. It's not necessary. This is important. Your table being pristine and lovely and delightful and enchanting is more important than if you have a wreath on your door, which they charge you like $50 for those things. Set your table on Christmas Eve. Slowly. Don't worry if you don't have 50,000 things from your travels or your daily life, your work. Forget that. There's no rule, there's no competition. Start simple and build. But you know what, if I think about it for a second, don't forget that after your whole prep day and all this stuff, it's super fun to go out on Christmas Eve and just have a drink somewhere. I mean, if you go to, for me, it would be Via Carota. They close early because she treats her employees beautifully. Or you know, just go somewhere and have a quick drink and just be in your place, if it's in the country, the city, or the edge of the world, and just enjoy the closing of the season. Do not, I don't have to tell you this because you're all adults, but don't get too blasted on Christmas Eve. You want Christmas, you wait all year for that. So, I mean, cooking-wise, you wait all year for it. It's not a party night. Christmas night, that's a party night. So Christmas Eve, you're just going out to enjoy your town. And it's also, take a second to appreciate the moment. Like so much, we're always like, what am I doing? What's happening next? What's the thing? And we forget to say, I did good and I have something to look forward to. I mean, those are such important emotions that we pass over so quickly. I did good and I have something to look forward to. And to take a minute to appreciate people that are around you. This is what the rebirth season is about, is saying, wow, where am I drawing my energy from? Where is the seed getting its energy from? From my town, from my friends, from me. Also, I tip every person that works with me. And if you don't have a ton of money, it can be $20 with a card that says, thank you for everything you did for me this year. I'm talking about your deli man, if you live in New York, the guy who cuts your hair, your butcher, of course, your fishmonger, the garage guys. You can send your doctor a piece of cake you made. I mean, it changes people's lives, and I'm not exaggerating. Charities. Now, charities, you can go to Charity Navigator, which is a company that rates charities, and they give ratings and full disclosure about any person any organization that's soliciting money. And they'll tell you how much of your dollar is going to the charity and how much is going to the administration. Now listen, some of your dollar is going to administration, it's okay. But the less that's going to administration, the better. I personally love St. Jude's. I don't know how you knock St. Jude's. So if you don't know where to give to St. Jude's. If you don't have money, they treat your kid. I don't know what else you can ask for. Everybody has their personal thing. Linny likes
Deliver Fund. And
Deliver Fund.
Mission Canine Rescue.
Mission Canine Rescue. Zach, anybody?
I like to give to the ACLU.
ACLU. I mean, I like New York Bully Crew. They're so fabulous, and their videos are devastating. There's a million things you can give to. Give small if you don't have a lot of, $5 makes a difference. Seriously. There's another beautiful thing you can do, and this is the last thing I'll say about charities. If you have $250 that you want to give, but you don't want to give it to a charity that you can't see, try this out. Color me crazy. I've done this. Go to Kmart, Walmart, Burlington, places where people with kids and families have layaway. And you go to the accounts department, and believe me, they understand this. And you say, I would like to pay somebody's layaway or put money towards their layaway. You don't ask anything, you don't give your name. They have your name because they took your credit card or your cash. But, so that person comes in and they get to hear this. Oh no, your bill is taken care of. I usually ask, find one with a lot of children's items on it. Because they're worried about their layaway. So it's a simple act. And that's if you had a good year and you have $250 or something that you're willing to give away. It's a lot of money. Go down to one of these stores and try that out. It's pretty amazing when you walk out. You're never going to know that person. They're never going to know you, but and it's a very, very powerful act. I want to tell you one more thing. My theater company, Axis, has a children's show we've been doing for 18 years, okay? Now we're an experimental theater, whatever the hell that means. But every year we do this kind of traditional English style pantomime called 7 in 1 Blow, based on The Brave Little Tailor. And every year we do a benefit for St. Jude's, and all the proceeds 100% go to St. Jude's on that night. So if you're in New York and you're a child or a child at heart, come and see 7 in 1 Blow. It's pretty great. And you might see some familiar faces like Lynn.
7 in 1 Blow.
And Regina. You can set your breakfast table on Christmas Eve as well. If you have a little breakfast nook or a counter, mine's on the counter. Do that on Christmas Eve too. So you come down in the morning, you swan downstairs to make your Christmas breakfast.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
It's Christmas morning. It's the day you've been waiting for all year. When you wake up in the summertime and you go, oh, it's going to be Christmas someday. Well, today's the day. It is Christmas, or it's holiday day that you're going to make your big dinner. Take a minute to just breathe and be present and enjoy the day. There's a wonderful American tradition called the Yule log. Okay, so I know you guys already know this. I put the Yule log on for Christmas breakfast. I've just been told by several people on our crew that Netflix has multiple forms of the Yule log. So at least you have some music that you don't have to worry about, and you have the funny Yule log, which is hilarious. I just also want to remind everybody that I'm still under construction, apparently for the rest of my life. So you set your breakfast table last night, so you don't have to worry about this. Okay, so your breakfast table is set, you have your sachets that you made, and make sure that they're nice on people's plate. I sometimes give a tiny present, literally some hand cream that somebody likes or something like that. I don't do a lot of presents on Christmas Day. The present is the meal. Now, what is our breakfast menu? Well, it's simple and on purpose simple. We're having cannelés, baked eggs, also known as sheared eggs or shirred eggs, some bacon and toast and things like that, which you can add or subtract on your own. A little bit of caviar if they choose with their egg. I'm gonna serve champagne. I'm gonna serve fresh juice. I don't squeeze my own juice, sorry. I live right next to the amazing Mr. Lee. Ta-da! And he has fresh squeezed juice that I just run over and buy in the morning. You should basically have everything in your house yesterday, because you don't want to be running out, especially if you don't live near Mr. Lee. So we're going to start with cannelé. Michael and I had a fight as to whether there was an accent aigu on the E. There is. It's not cannelle, it's cannelé, but who cares, okay? You can call it canneely if you want. They are special and superb. They do take about a solid 50 minutes. You have to leave some time for this. The eggs are easy. The cannelé do take about 50 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes. You made your base yesterday because it has to rest for 12 hours, okay? So now we're going to strain the cannelé base, which you have to do, and then we're going to prepare the cannelé molds. Unfortunately, guys, you have to buy cannelé molds. And it's only if you're a weirdo and you want to make cannelés. You cannot, in the history of your life, ever wash this. It gets seasoned. And then when you're done, you just wipe them clean. That's about as clean as they'll get. I can't lie to you, they're not cheap. I had 4 for a long time, then I just recently bought a new 4. Get the copper ones. They do have them on Amazon. I'm gonna show you cannelés for Christmas breakfast. They probably won't even notice you made them. Kind of like the Madeleines that nobody commented on. First thing you're gonna do is after you've rested your cannelé for 12 hours, you're going to strain it because it forms a little bit of a skin. See the skin? You don't want that in your cannelé. The first time I made them, I took them out way too early, so resist the urge. You'll see how dark they get before you can take them out. They puff up like this, and then they fall down, and the bottom of the cannelé hits the bottom. If you don't do that, the top of the cannelé will be blonde and the bottom will be dark, and it won't be as good. Trust me on this. Be brave. Preparing a cannelé pan, how do you do it? Well, you want to butter it. Take the butter like this. Take your cannelé mold. You're going to butter the inside of it generously, and then you're also going to hit it with spray. In the old days, they used, or people still use, beeswax. So you're kind of making fake beeswax here, and then hit it quickly with the spray. Okay? So put your cannelé in a pourable, a thing with a spout. Now you want to pour this to 3 millimeters from the top, as Bruno says. I usually have to do this in 2 batches. It's exciting to have 8 of these. So now I'm going to put a little more in each one of these so it's really close to the top. 3 millimeters. That's perfect. All right, I'm going to put these in the oven. I'm going to put them at 410 convection. It's like 425 regular. But you want a hot oven, and it should be hot already. That's why you have to get up at 7. Cannelé, cannelé, what a crazy way to start the day. Cannelé, cannelé. Oh, the oven magically opened. Cannelé today. Want to know a cool trick? Set the oven 20 degrees higher than you want, because when you open the oven, you disrupt the temperature, okay? So when you open the oven to put in your meat, it should be 20 degrees higher. Then you turn it down, and guess what? It's the temperature you want. We're gonna make baked eggs. These take about 10 minutes in the oven. Keep an eye on them. Some people say less, some people say more. The internet says 17 minutes, that's too long. The first thing you're gonna do is fry off some pancetta. And this makes the house smell great when they come in. Now you're also making bacon, if you'd like, and toast and all that stuff, which also makes a beautiful smell. But usually that's after they get there. By the time you're doing this, you should be almost gonna take the cannelé out. That's your timing. And also, this should be set up before they get here, or before they come down. So you should assemble your egg, and it should be sitting in the tray, ready to go in the oven, even before your cannelé are, you know what I mean? You should set this up. They don't want to see this. And if they're coming from your bedroom or they're coming from your house, it's still a nice thing to do. Oh, please, come in for breakfast at 9, or come for whatever your timing is. If you have little kids, it's a totally different story, obviously, because you have to do the whole freak out on Christmas morning, right? If you're doing Christmas. You know, I seasoned this a little bit with a little bit of salt and pepper, even though it's cured, so it does have salt, because you just want everything to be a little bit more intense today. Now I'm gonna drain on my 8th sheet pan with a J-cloth on it. Do you guys know that MasterChef The Professionals UK has started again? I won't tell you how to watch it because I'm not sure if it's legal, but it's so exciting to see Monica and those guys again, you know? And then I'm just gonna put some spinach in here. Just gonna wilt it for a second. And this, you don't have to worry about it because it's gonna cook in the ramekin also. Tiny bit of salt. Remember, you can put salt on, but you can't take salt away. Now we're gonna assemble. I'm gonna put a little bit of this in the bottom. Then you're gonna put a little bit of spinach in each ramekin. And it doesn't matter if it's not completely wilted because it will be after you cook it. And then you simply crack an egg on top of each one. Try really hard not to break the yolk. 2 eggs is fine. You can put 2 eggs in. And you're just gonna put a little pepper on top for niceness, you know? And a teeny bit of salt. You can put a little dried herbs on top. This is thyme. I put 2 eggs in for Christmas. I don't have 2 eggs, so I'm just using 1 egg. And then this goes into your cannelé oven, 400, 380, for about 10, 12 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. Now listen, I serve caviar. You don't have to serve caviar, for crying out loud, okay? Because I have it in the house for the holiday dinner, I usually offer people a little bit with breakfast. Anyway, let's talk about proper service of caviar. This is the most unnecessary thing on planet Earth. But if you're gonna go to the expense of buying it, you should serve it correctly. You serve it with finely chopped shallots, cut pieces of lemon, so you can put that here if you want, or here, and sour cream or creme fraiche. And you're gonna serve it with something called blinis. Listen, it's dumb, but people love it. And the other thing is, you can serve it with little teeny weeny glasses of chilled vodka. Chic. So creme fraiche or sour cream, chopped shallots, cut lemon, blini, which I bought. These can go on a separate little square sort of tray. They shouldn't be ice cold. These are ice cold. Either dip this, they come in packs. You want to dip this in hot water, or you can microwave them. I usually forget. This is Petroleum Royal Transmontanus U.S. caviar. Gone are the days when you can get Russian or Iranian caviar. The best in the world is Iran. The tins are tight. Now the tin will last for at least a month. When you open it, it's 2 days. Once it's open, it has to be eaten. I can never do this. Hilarious. I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's open. So this is what it looks like. There's another little thing that you must remember. You cannot use a metal spoon. It will deeply alter the flavor of your caviar when you put it in your mouth. You cannot use a metal spoon. So then you're gonna put it in your dish. Now I use this. This was a cheapo, like a tourist thing. It was like $1.90. It's the chicest thing to serve caviar in, I think. And I use what we used to call elephant snot when I was a kid, like poster, sticker up stuff. And you make sure it's secure so that they don't flip the thing when they're digging on it. Anyway, here we go. So I'm gonna put this in here. This is the small amount. At Christmas we have more. Look at that, black gold. And you wanna leave a service spoon in it like that. The other traditional accompaniment, which I don't do, is chopped egg, chopped hard-boiled egg. I don't do that. The traditional way to set this up is like this. You put a dollop of sour cream, a few little shallots, a healthy dollop of caviar, and a little squeeze of lemon. And because she's my old friend, this is for Lynn. Look at that.
you.
All right. Oh, that's good. That's good caviar.
Really.
All right, awesome. So this is the formal setting. For breakfast, I just pop the tin and say, would you like a little on your egg? You know. But this is how you do it traditionally, okay? Caviar. See how dark these are? That's what you want. But we're gonna check one anyway, okay? That's tiny bit underdone. These are a tiny bit blonde. These are good cannelé. They will firm up. They seem very soft right now. They get pretty hard. The blonde dot is okay, but your goal is to not have that. You want it to be like that. That's why you make 8 to serve 4, all right? Because some of them you're gonna serve, some of them you're not gonna serve. You wanna cool these on a rack. And they're gonna, I mean, that's pretty professional looking, right?
Oh my God, they're so amazing.
Yeah, you see, nobody comments on them. These, you don't want to serve them too warm. The center is almost like a custard, or it should be, a little bit soft, right? So you want these, they'll get quite stiff. Now, you're going to put the baked eggs in the oven and keep an eye on them. They can be here now because they're going to see your beautiful cannelés, but they can be here when you're doing this part. All right, so in terms of your timing, 50 minutes, everything is set up egg-wise. These come out and you put the eggs in, you pour champagne, you make them their coffees, etc. Yule log, Christmas morning. Okay, so now we're going to take the baked eggs out. What I'm looking for is a slight jiggle. Look how yummy that is. And then you're going to serve. So you're going to take your room temperature cannelé, you're going to put them in a nice dish like this. There's your cannelé. As they're sitting, you know, they've taken their sachets off, they've had some champagne, they've had maybe a cannelé, and here your eggs are ready. And be careful, they're very hot. You're just going to pick it up and set it in the center of their plate. What better could that be? Then get them out of there because you got work to do. Bye-bye by noon, Christmas breakfast. Phew. Breakfast is over. They've left. So now you're going to have a little break coming up. But before you take your break, your goose has been unwrapped from the plastic overnight in the refrigerator to dry. You're going to remove this at around noon from the fridge. And you're going to take your filet out of the fridge so that it can come to room temperature because we do not cook cold meat. So now you have some golden hours. You have until at least 3 o'clock. You can walk your dog, which is the sweetest walk ever, because the kids are out usually with their new things that they got. A lot of the world has at least that day off in some way. And even if you don't, it's just a beautiful time to take a day off. If you have different seasons like in Australia or other parts of the world, I'm sure it's still a festive walk to take with your dog or your friend or your dog's friend or your friend's dog because it's a holiday. So you want to go walking with your dog. Do you want to go for a Christmas walk?
48 chefs from across the UK are putting their reputations
On the line. Fougasse. That's that fancy leaf-shaped bread. You know that bread, Leonard? Fougasse. Pretty interesting. Sometimes
You can spend time by yourself, but sometimes you have family staying over and you don't get any time to yourself at all.
We are now going to make a condiment. This is pretty easy. It's very similar to creamed leeks. It just has a different vegetable, essentially. The thing about creamed onions is that you don't want it to be off-white. So when we are browning our veg and stuff, you don't want it to get brown because that will stain the cream and you have sort of a weird brown cream, which is not good. So I have this on the stove already, so we have a
Hot pan, olive oil.
right, a little bit of olive oil. Put some shallots in. Yeah, so you really want to keep an eye on this. You don't want it to brown. Okay, I'm being very careful because I did actually brown mine last Christmas and it was delicious, but it was, do you remember, Reggie? That's enough. I'm taking it off the heat. The heat's too hot. I'm going to deglaze with a little white wine. I'm going to put a touch of vinegar in. Okay, a little bit of salt. And I boiled and popped and peeled these last night. And I'm just going to put these in and cook them in that a little bit, and then we're going to add the cream. But we're going to make sure that there's no brown pieces. Just kind of sort of wilt them, yeah. Like that you don't want them to be uncooked before you put the cream in. You can wing this. I'm essentially winging this, okay? I'm going to put a tiny bit of sugar in, but this is not white, so I'm taking a slight risk here. Just a little bit of sugar to sweeten it. Dear Theodosia, when I learn to you, I'm going to taste one. Ooh, those are good onions. Okay, here we go. I'm just pouring in the cream. A little bit more. I mean, it's holiday, okay? Yeah, it's a cream sauce. It's really a, what is it, like a relish. It's not really something that you eat, a big, huge bowl of it. I'm just going to reduce this down very gently. So you're a dinner partier, you're not afraid. You're tasting and seasoning. Remember, this is a relish, so it can be a little bit intensely flavored. And then you can leave this out. You don't have to put it back in the fridge because you're progressing towards your dinner now. The shallots are a little purple. I would maybe not use shallots, but anyway. You can put this in the dish in which you're going to serve it at the table when it's reduced, and just put it to one side because it doesn't need to go back in the fridge and you don't need to put it in a deli and mess up another deli, so you may as well just put it in its dish. You're going to prep your vegetables, which are simply roasted root vegetables. They're delicious. I would suggest leaving a little bit of the green. It's more rustic and kind of lovely. You can also substitute, root vegetable puree, which we have in another episode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the nose off, and then I'm going to cut it in half. That's it. Throw them in your presentation dish. These are turnips. Oh, I just cut the green. I wasn't thinking. This is just like a nice rustic veg dish. So you're going to cut off the bottom. I would leave these whole because they're quite thin. Cut off the nose at an angle if you can. We're going to use a miso glaze, which I'm going to show you how to make. Go to your store if it has a slightly offensive thing called a ethnic section and buy a little thing of miso. It's usually in the fridge. You should have it. It's extremely helpful in your kitchen. These are lovely carrots. These are from Lancaster Farm in Pennsylvania. You're going to put a little olive oil on them and a little salt, but not too much salt because you're going to make a miso glaze, okay? So you're going to go like that with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of pepper, and maybe a tiny bit of salt just to kind of draw the moisture out while I'm making the glaze. Like we always say on Dinner Party Tonight, if it tastes good raw, pretty sure it's going to taste good cooked, right? Oh, those are delicious. Oh my God. Okay, miso glaze. Let's make it. It's super easy. I have a little bit of boiling water here. I'm basically making miso soup, but kind of thick. So I'm putting in, putting in miso. I'm going to put a little more miso. You want this to melt. I'm using rice vinegar. It's kind of sweet. Oh my God, Reggie took me to the most incredible Chinese restaurant called Kings County Imperial. If you are in New York City, stop by Kings County Imperial. Okay, now I made a mistake. It has to reduce a little bit. I put too much water. Okay, what is miso? Miso is an incredibly versatile ingredient. It's very salty, okay? And it's made of fermented soybeans. All right, I'm gonna use this as it is. Looks good to me. Now I'm just gonna pour it on the vegetables. So here are my prepped veg. Yikes-enheimer. The San Francisco treat. Now this will reduce in the oven, and you cook it for about 40 minutes. Just check a turnip, the bigger turnip. People will remember this, I'm warning you. It's excellent. Okay, here we go. We're gonna make some filet, and we are going to use the sous vide, which is the Jewel sous vide, just Reggie gave me, and I was like, oh, thanks, and then it changed my life. It makes things like filet come out absolutely perfectly every time. I purchased this filet from Hudson and Charles, the illustrious Kevin and Jay, cutest couple in the West Village. I did choose a folded end, which is fine. This side is like a filet mignon looking. This side, the tail is folded under. So you can see they folded it and tied it. You want to tie it. If your butcher didn't tie it, tie it. And of course, you remembered to tip your butcher, especially around this time of year. Anyway, how do you prepare this for sous vide? We're gonna do something called pre-searing, which you don't have to do if you have sous vide, but it's kind of makes it better. So we're just gonna sear it really quickly in a super hot pan, and then at the end, when it's perfectly cooked, we're gonna sear it again. So it has a recognizable Maillard reaction, which is what that's called, on the outside, the browning. I'm now gonna prep it. I'm taking some butter in my hand, not olive oil. I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna go like this. Completely covering it in butter. Pow. Now we're gonna salt and pepper it. So I'm actually gonna pick this up and set it on here so we don't lose any salt and pepper. Liberally, please. Mop up extra salt, plenty of salt. And I'm gonna turn on the stove so that my pan is blazing hot. I'm gonna use grapeseed oil. I'm going to cut some slices of butter, about that thick. You want approximately 4 to 6 of these. These are gonna go in your sous vide bag. All right, so here we go. We're gonna sear our filet. This is just a little seal. Wait until it moves on its own. The greatest respect that you can give to this creature that gave its life for you is to cook it beautifully. Okay. Pre-sear, done. Your filet is now ready to be sous vided. Take a plastic bag. Please make sure it doesn't have a hole in it. I'm gonna put my filet into the bag. Like that. I'm going to do this. 1 piece of butter there, 1 piece of butter there, 1 piece of butter there, and 1 piece of butter there. And I'm gonna put another one on the top. What herbs do you want to put in here? Well, what's going to happen in the sous vide is they're going to slightly cook in a weird way and become soft and fragrant and scent the meat. So I'm going to use a little bit of sage. Always be careful with sage because too much sage can be a little cough medicine-y. I'm going to put in some thyme and some rosemary. Did I tell you guys about when I first heard parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme? It was when it came out, when it was on the radio. And I used to put the radio here and put a pillow over my head. This is way before everybody had their own private soundtrack. And I was like, Scarlet Battalions. I was like, holy crap. It was like my whole brain went. Stayed that way permanently, by the way. Now I'm gonna seal this. You can use a food saver if you have a food saver. Of course, the ideal thing would be a chamber vacuum sealer. I don't have one. This would be perfect for Food Saver, which is the little vacuum thing that you use to freeze food. But if it has liquid in it, you can't use the Food Saver because it draws up the liquid and squirts it out into the Food Saver. But this would be ideal. I'm not gonna go get it because it would slow everything down. So what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna roll it before I close it, like this. I'm trying to get the air out. And then when it's like that, I'm gonna squeeze the sides, and then I'm gonna seal it. It's a little wet on the outside, so I'm gonna take the precaution using a second bag. I wish sous vide would come up with some other way of doing this that has a reusable bag. But before I put it in, I'm gonna get ready a little sort of bootleg sous vide device, which is a coffee cup, which I'm gonna use to weight down the filet. So here it goes, our Christmas filet is going in. So I'm not setting the timer until it's in. Your most important job is to make sure it's fully submerged all the way around. And that's it. In this case, it's 2.5 hours. It depends on the thickness of your filet. If you don't have this, you just throw it in the oven. You can refer to our other filet episode. This is just foolproof. When it comes out, we're gonna sear it, and then we're gonna rest it, and we're gonna serve it. Goose. Now look, this is cooked. It's smoked, okay? If everything else in your entire dinner messes up, you can still serve this. It just has to be warm. So all you're doing is heating it through. Now, if you have 2 ovens, it's easy, you can get everything in. If you don't have 2 ovens, you can put this in a hot oven for 30 minutes or a 350 oven until it gets warm. That's all you're doing. But it's room temperature because you're a dinner partier, so that's not gonna take very long. Now you can also crisp up the skin a little bit. We're gonna paint it with a little bit of the cherry sauce that we made on the 23rd, which what I did with it is I just loosened it a little bit with water. This is sweet and tart. So you wanna keep this handy, and you're gonna paint it a couple times while it's heating. And then this goes in the oven, like I said, just till it's heated through. But it's cooked, so you can't mess it up. Look at that, doesn't that look Christmassy? Okay, your guests are due in a few minutes. This is crunch time, all right? And you have to go upstairs and get ready at some point also. But first of all, you're gonna get your apps ready. We're gonna do just a little sort of tuna surprise Ritz cracker canapé. A little bit of mayonnaise, they don't need to see this, okay? Bloop, bloop. Then we're gonna take these beautiful, flaky, amazing pieces of fish, in my opinion. I'm probably gonna cut the flakes in half. Put one like that. Like that. That's a caper, so I'm gonna put them on to everybody's in a minute. Now I'm gonna put just a teeny drop on the top for the caper, okay? And I'm gonna do this. Caper, caper, caper. I'm gonna do a little pepper on top, kind of by not a lot, by going like this, right? You can put a little hot pepper on some of them, if you want. Gorgeous. Something for everybody, right? Ritz cracker canapé. Yum. Your filet is cooking in the sous vide. Your goose is getting cooked. Your goose is in the oven. Your potatoes, your veggies, and your mushrooms are ready to fire. What you're gonna do now is display your appetizers. Everything that you made before. You're gonna display it perfectly. You're gonna light your scent. You're gonna put your music on. You're gonna open your wine. You're going to light decorative candles. And then you're going to make sure that you have somebody help you open oysters. Now, I had Mike for that. This is my friend Mike that you've heard so much about. Oh, Mike.
Hi, Randy. Hi, Randy.
All right.
Let's see what we got.
Okay. Wellfleets. So
Oh, they're pretty.
these are Wellfleet oysters. They're stored, for everybody to know, you store oysters in a plate, not on ice, in a ventilated plate, okay? And you store them belly side down. So you see one side is flat and one side has a curve, right, Michael?
The cup.
Right.
Yeah, this is the
so
cup.
Cup down. You have to kind of scrub them because if you don't scrub them,
There's dirt on them.
when you open it, the dirt goes into the oyster.
Yeah, you also don't want to make them too wet either, because it's yucky when the regular water gets inside of an oyster.
Yeah.
You want the liquid of the oyster.
And the liquid is called the liquor. Okay, so the liquor. Well, hold on before you open it.
Mm-hmm.
So the liquor is the best part. It's like the beautiful liquid. It's fantastic. So one of the things you want to make sure of is obviously all your oysters are closed. Okay, and when you
cold.
And cold. And when you bought them from your fishmonger, what did you do?
You tipped him.
You tipped your fishmonger. So here we go. Mike's gonna open oysters. He has a lot of experience.
Some people like to open oysters by putting them flat down on a table because it's more stable, and you can put a dish rag down and cover the other side with a dish rag.
Stop. Tell where you're putting the thing.
I was about to.
Okay.
I'm putting it basically in the back hinge of the oyster and just wiggling it to the point where I can wedge the top of the shell up. Then I'm cutting whatever meat is there and then running underneath the oyster to dislodge it from the bottom of its shell. This one is really, really gorgeous, and look at all that nice liquor. And Randy helps me with what I like on it. The sacred oyster. So the other way you can do it is just holding it in one hand, like holding it in one hand, doing the same thing, wedging under. That's the way I like to do it. It's faster.
It's slightly more risky because if the knife
If it
moves,
slips,
it could go
but if
through
you- yeah.
could go through the.
But if you use a dish towel like this, you're gonna be okay.
We tried it all, man. We tried the Kevlar gloves. We tried, every possible way that you could do it.
They talk about varieties of oysters, even within Wellfleet,
This is important.
being influenced by the mineral content of the rivers and estuaries that feed the particular oyster beds and the grants that are granted to the oyster farmers. So these things are super sacred for farmers on Cape Cod. There's limited amount of area, and it's a big deal to get an oyster grant from the government.
There's also big oyster conservancies and stuff on Long Island.
And Connecticut.
Where these big time people are
Yeah.
growing oysters in
Yeah.
their backyards, and it's like a very cool thing to buy because it's totally sustainable. So when those are open, you display them. You don't have to buy an oyster plate. Sometimes we put them on a bed of kosher salt, sort of set them in salt.
The reason being is when they're open, you don't want to spill the
You
liquor
serve them
out
with
of them.
the bowl down, so it's not steady. You have to put them in something.
That's
which
why
is,
the salt can help stabilize them.
right, gravel, shaved
little rocks would be pretty, yeah.
sand,
Pea gravel,
shaved
yeah.
ice, things like that. And then you bring it out, and we usually open 20, and then we have 10 outside. Hopefully it's freezing.
Well, usually what happens is,
Spencer eats them all.
and then I'm standing here opening oysters and feeding
Right,
everybody.
right. And I'm
Which is
just doing
fun.
nothing.
And Randy's just b***ing some. I mean,
You can't say
and Randy's just playing with Leonard.
right, I'm not doing anything for Christmas dinner. Is
Now
that right,
Juan's
Michael?
here. Juan does the hard work. Randy takes, and Randy steals his thunder.
Really?
No.
You did great, Mikey.
I'll see you.
The only thing you have to do, and I've done this with 5 minutes to spare. And when you have early people, sometimes they come, like my niece Elizabeth. Dr. Sharp always comes early, and I'm upstairs changing because it's that tight. Now it's time to change your clothes. Oh yes, everybody's here having a wonderful time. Yes, I did have interest in the new Helen Mirren movie. No, I haven't seen The Joker. Yes, we were in Vanity Fair in November. But just remember, you have to cook the rest of your dinner. Isn't it incredible that my boiler broke on Christmas Day and the guys came to fix it? You can see their light out there, they're like miners. So Reggie got me a new boiler for Christmas. Isn't that nice? Thanks, Reg. Everybody's having cocktails and Ritz crackers and caviar and stuff and having champagnes and everything's awesome. And we are just gonna sneak into the kitchen for our pre-prepared vegetable thing. And I'm gonna put it in the oven, the bottom oven. I do have 2 ovens. Listen, I've done it with one in a galley kitchen, okay? You can stack them, you put soup cans and you kind of build them up. I've done it, okay? But I'm gonna throw this in the oven for about 40 minutes. If all the miso goes away, I'm gonna add a little water. And they're basically gonna sort of cookie braisey roast in this miso. So here we go. Okay, it's about 30 minutes before dinner. You're gonna heat your potatoes that you took out earlier so they're at room temperature. And then if you have time, you're gonna paint a little butter on top and just broil it for 2 seconds before you serve it. But right now we're just going to heat them through. The goose has come out, it's heated through, it's beautifully glazed. We're now just going to quickly broil these mushrooms. Now how do you prep them? Just put a little bit of olive oil on them. It's kind of the normal prep for everything, right? And you're going to put a little bit of salt. This should be very high heat, broil, okay? A little bit of pepper. And then you're just going to tip them out onto a pan. Kind of make sure it's one thing high, right? Not 2 layers. Give it another little hit, like that, and another little hit of salt, and put it under your broiler. Keep an eye on it. This is essentially a garnish that goes around your filet. So anyway, you're going to put this in under the broiler. And keep an eye on it. Your filet is out. You have finished your sous vide. You're going to do a final sear to make it look super beautiful on your Christmas table, okay? Rip roaring hot. Presentation side down. I always say handle it with your hands, handle the meat with your hands. So you just have a better feel for it. This is perfectly cooked, by the way, because it was in the sous vide and it was timed perfectly. It's quite hot, so I am going to use tongs now that I've felt it. Okay, you want to get a little sear on either end, like that. Then I'm going to do it presentation side down again in 1 second. And I'm going to finish it with butter. Presentation side down, a little bit of butter. Gives it a beautiful brown appearance. There we go. Now we're going to plate. So now, you know, people are starting to drift into the dining room and you're about to set out your buffet or put it on the table or however you do it. So I'm just going to plate the meat. I'm setting it on a bed of herbs, which is optional. This is essentially an inedible garnish, which is verboten. As Edgar and I say, no inedible garnish. But this is okay because it's herbs, and if you were really crazy, you could eat it, so it's okay. So I'm going to put the filet on the bed of herbs like that. Oh, it's lovely. And then I'm going to arrange the mushrooms around the filet. And it's sort of like, almost like hunter style, you know? And you can save a few of these separately if you have a veg friend, because it's sort of like bacon. Filet on a bed of herbs surrounded by fried chanterelles. Screams holiday to me. I managed to make it through dinner without spilling anything on my shirt. So now it's time to serve your beautiful desserts. What you're going to do is you're going to take your ice cream out of the freezer a little bit before you want to serve it. You're going to take the lids off, because the lids are ugly. You're going to let it sort of slightly soften. You're going to bring out your cakes, beautiful ice creams, your cordial tray, some chocolates perhaps, little chocolates. You want to bring this out sort of like chocolates. Would anybody like some coffee? Put a cake down. La la la, pull a cracker, sing a song. Go back in, get the other cake. This is a glorious moment for you. You did it. So have fun, don't spill, and remember, enjoy the night. Be present, don't project. Try to be there. Be here now. So you're going to take things out sort of one by one, and here's to you. Who's like you? Damn few, and they're all dead. We made fabulous hors d'oeuvre, plate after plate of delicious, appetizing, yum mania food. We had champagne, we had red wine, we had friends over, our dog was here. Then we had a beautiful smoked goose lacquered with cherry sauce, puffy, cheese-filled Duchess potatoes, Duchess for Americans, a lovely creamed onion condiment, a beautiful filet, perfectly sous vide, and then seared in a pan, surrounded by crispy chanterelles, my goodness me. Then we had carrots and turnips roasted in a miso glaze, a lovely bright accompaniment for this gorgeous meal. For dessert, the gift of the Randi, a spice cake with spice and rum glaze. A Christmas cake, so lovely and full of glacier cherries, as Fanny Craddock would say. Hot chocolate cherry ice cream, so rich and delicious and creamy and chocolatey, just like a perfect hot chocolate at Rockefeller Center. And butter pecan, or popcorn ice cream, as people say. Some chocolates, some friends, some family, some holiday. You did it. You made a holiday dinner. I mean, whether you make 1, 2, or all of these, or your own dishes, or you have Chinese food, but you like candles, you had a holiday dinner. You did it. And that's what Dinner Party Tonight is all about. And I want to say thank you from everybody at Dinner Party Tonight. Happy holidays! Yay! And we'll see you very soon. Goodbye! Thanks, Reg.